Okay. 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 Well, welcome everybody. This is Honors Algebra 3-4. This is our very first video lesson. And then this video lesson, well, this lesson is R2 in the book. It's R2, and it deals with order of operations and classifying numbers, properties, stuff like that. So I have another set of notes that are going to go along with this lesson. You're going to explore that on your own, where it just kind of talks about the different types of number properties and whatnot. So right now for this particular piece of the lesson, we're just going to focus on the order of operations. You guys remember that. We've been doing it forever. It's PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I love PEMDAS. I love Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally because everybody remembers it 20 years later. Like, I go up to my friends who are my age, 66, and I ask them about PEMDAS. They still remember it, and they're not even math teachers. But my problem with PEMDAS and Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally is it's a little elementary for this level of math. It doesn't include everything. And then there's always the misconception that multiply comes from before divide and add comes before subtract. People think that. Even up to this level, I get students who still think that. But we're going to fix that. We're just going to revise the order of operations just a little bit. We're going to write this into our notes. So the first thing we're always going to do with order of operations is any sort of operation within grouping symbols. And if you're within particular grouping symbols, I'll explain what they are in just a bit. Then you follow the rest of the order of operations within those. So you would do roots and exponents first. You would multiply and divide left to right first, and then add and subtract. So after you've done with anything within grouping symbols, the next step is all roots and exponents. Roots and exponents are really the same thing. A root is a different form of an exponent, but it would be an exponent that's a fraction. We're going to learn a lot more about that later too. So roots and exponents go as a second step. And then the third step would be to multiply and divide from left to right. Do all of that. And then lastly, add and subtract from left to right. So a little bit more of an advanced order of operations system to follow. Okay, are you ready? We're going to try one. Are you ready? Let me just erase this. All right, I'm gonna steal this problem. It's a good one. Okay, so what we have here, we have the square root 25 minus 16 minus, in parentheses, negative 3 squared on top of negative 2 squared plus 1. All right. So I talked about grouping symbols. If you look at this example, this is a complex problem to start with, but we have all kinds of grouping symbols. Everything within this radical is its own group. So that's got to be done first. Okay? It's not just as simple as parentheses anymore. And then everything within the numerator of this big fraction, I'm going to pretend like there's parentheses there. All that's got to be done before you can add the 1, or before you can do this, divide by this, whatever this is going to be. So anytime you have grouping symbols inside of a square root, it could just be the parentheses. It could be anything inside a numerator or denominator. It could also be something like an absolute value or something like that. But grouping symbols, anything within those have to be done first. So within this big numerator, I have what's in here first. So that's almost like a group within a larger group. So I'm going to do 25 minus 16 first, and I get the square root of 9 minus negative 3 squared over negative 2 squared. All right, now I'm ready to start. Oh, I saw the plus 1. I almost forgot that. Almost. Now I'm gonna start within the second group. That would be this entire numerator. I'm gonna do all of this entire numerator right here. All right, so I have the square root of 9. I'm gonna do all the roots and exponents first. The square root of 9 would be 3 minus, this is tricky, this negative is being squared. This negative is being squared, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So it is going to be, this negative 3 squared is going to turn into 9, okay? And then if you want to, we can take care of this exponent as well, because we've done everything in the top. Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes that happens. Look at this negative, son. This negative is not being squared. There's no parentheses around this negative to say that this negative is being squared. So really what I have is a negative times a 2 squared. So we do the exponent first, 2 squared is 4, and then we apply the negative, so this is going to simplify to negative 4. So often people want to square that negative and call it positive 4, but the negative is not being applied to that exponent there, okay? One of the biggest, most common mistakes in algebra, all right? I know you might even think I'm lying, I promise I'm not, but you can check it in your calculator. If there's no parentheses and you try to square it, it's going to end up negative. All right, so then we have the plus 1 still. So now if you look, I have a group on top, I have the numerator 3 minus 9, that's going to be negative 6. So I'm going to continue on the right here. I'm going to get, on the top, that simplifies to negative 6 over negative 4 plus 1. Now, negative 6 over negative 4 simplifies to 3 over 2. So I got 3 over 2 plus 1. But when I add that 1, I want to have it so it's equal to 1, but common denominator with 3/2 here, so I can just add straight across the top. So another way to write 1 is 2 over 2. Then I've got an easy fraction to add, and I have 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2, which equals 5 over 2. So my answer is 5/2, okay? Now, I hope you like that. That's going to be the end of this part of the lesson. The other part of R2 with the classification, you're going to kind of explore that on your own. And I've put some notes on Canvas. So I want you to check those out, practice some of this. There's some of this practice there too. And then there's going to be assignment on Math Excel. And I want you to get started on that, and I'll see you shortly. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Oh yeah, don't forget to hit the likes and subscribe, whatever the YouTubers say. Thank you.